Hello, happy Sunday. We actually have a sunny day here in Bali. I'm Cat Kabira, and I just got back from the beach, and I was actually interviewed randomly by this woman who said, "Hey, can I ask you a question? Can I interview you about love?" And I laughed and I said, "Well, you know, I was just thinking for like the past 45 minutes, I was just pondering the nature of impermanence, love, loss, and death." And I said, "So I'm probably going to give you a pretty like heavy answer, whatever you say." She was fine with it. And so I just want to share with you, because I know what's been coming up in the field for me and for my students and friends, just the nature of impermanence. I don't know how many of you have ever gone on a Vipassana retreat, especially in the Goenka style. But the word that is kind of drilled in your head is anicca, which is impermanence. And being here on this island where, for those of you who have ever visited Bali, you probably know what I'm talking about. The veils are much thinner here. The spirits are alive in a different way. And that's not to say that the spirits aren't alive elsewhere, but every land has its own magic quality and spirits and matrix. So for here, it's a place that changes really quickly. And prior to COVID, even though I've been here for 15 years, I've been able to come in and out, and stay international and kind of use this energy of transformation to my advantage. So it's kind of funny to be trying to create a home and not travel in a place that's kind of meant to shift all the time. It's almost like a cosmic joke. And, if the real initiation in reality is impermanence and how do we ride these waves, I was thinking about the nature of grief. And, no matter how many times someone has died, it's not like, this is easy. Oh, I know this. So I've nailed grief. It's like, okay, like it's hitting me in a new way. And how do I sit through it and not drown? How do I let the waves just move through, but to let them pass? I think that's why I love surfing, and the idea of, sometimes getting caught in a set and you have nowhere to go. It's like you can't paddle in either direction. You've run out of that time. It's like you're looking up, the waves coming down, and it's like, all right, just hold your breath and dive under and surrender. And that's really our power. Our power is surrender. And last night I was at dinner and my friends were remarking how, especially in some areas in Bali, there's a lot of plastic surgery, implants, and Botox happening. And really it's kind of all over the world, right? Like it's this phenomenon that now, these are the next ways to alter ourselves in order to somehow ensure that we're going to be loved, right? Because there's just that fucked up idea that like, our worth and lovability is on our appearance. So like let's let's do things to our body. And like the reality is the body is so impermanent, and that for some people in spiritual traditions is a way to like transcend or ignore the body. I would say I'm more tantric in the sense that, our way through to God is through the body. And also like I really take care of this body, especially, being suicidal, anorectic, bulimic for so long. It's like, no. Like, this is my place where I get to play and experience pleasure, and it kind of brings me around the planet. Like it helps me climb things. So, there is a necessity of just like, how do I take care of this sweet, impermanent vehicle that I've been given? And yet that part of us that's terrified of change, and we're looking for ways to create permanence in an impermanent reality. And, whether that's, let me not get wrinkles or let me keep dyeing my hair. And I'm not knocking any of these things, but it is interesting to look at, the choices that we make, or, let me augment my breasts or my ass or my calves or, whatever. Let me permanently, tattoo, eyebrows. And I'm curious, for those of us who do that, it's like, what insecurity and fear is underneath us that's driving it. I know for myself before it was like, okay, well, let me, work out so hard and not eat so much so that I could maintain my body in a certain way, because my worth is dependent upon looking a certain way. And it feels really good to really own and know, like, my worth has nothing to do with my body, and it's more the music that's coming out of me, or the words I have to share, or my geekiness and my lovability, or whatever that is. And for my friends with eating disorders, that's the real thing we get to face. Like, who am I? And will I allow myself to be myself? And that deeper terror that we all have of, who the fuck am I? And do I actually like her or him or they, right? So I also get to look at, I think COVID, 2020 and 2021 has been a beautiful initiation in letting go, and kind of like nonstop waves of grief and also fear, and how do we ride these in an elegant way. And I, prior to COVID, I was, booked out always 2 years in advance, and there was so much organization going on, and, constantly on tour, and how do I make sure I've got these plane tickets and these apartments, and okay, let's coordinate with these studios and these students, and okay, let me get these assistants, and they can take care of this, and and it's been a bit of a relief of, okay, maybe I've got some time to play the piano a little bit more, and, just hang out a little bit. But also because that busyness that we have, and we all can be busy in different ways. God, electronics, phone, social media, everything is a way to stay busy. It distracts us from what's real. And I think about those moments when I really felt at home with myself, and it wasn't in those epic Instagram moments. It wasn't even when I worked hard to achieve something. If I have to admit, it wasn't even that. It was when I slowed down and settled enough within myself that I would just be in awe of watching the sunlight hitting palm trees, or listening to the sound of birds, or feeling, someone else's hand in mine. That slowing down, the pleasure of climbing into bed after a shower, after a long day, and you're like, oh my God, I'm in bed. This is so exciting. The joy of playing with an animal. And there can be a part of us, especially in terms of love and intimacy, where it's like, well, why would I continue to open myself up to this? Because, love and loss, it's like that. Anything we love is going to change or die. I was joking with my friends, last night how, there was this man that I was so in love with. And, at one point I'm like, yes, let's get married. I'll have your babies. And just months later, I'm like blocking him and never want to have anything to do with him. That's the perfect example of how we can shift and change. And what can we trust, And yet when I think about love, to me, and if you've been following me, you've heard me talk about it or write about it elsewhere, like I consider death the great love. And not because it's an ending, but when we die, it's like there's this great love that comes in and takes us and carries us home to the next journey. So this nature of love, there's so many angles, and what is death anyway? And yet despite that, I know for myself, we all carry that fear of rejection and abandonment, and yet that part of us that wants to connect as well. And I think about how when I was a little kid, I could get mad, like I'm in nursery school, 3 years old, with my little like trousers on and my bowl cut, and, getting really mad at my best friend, for stealing my blocks, and being like, I hate you, you're not my friend. And then, 5 minutes later, we're like playing in the sandbox. We don't hold on to grudges, and that's, and I'm not saying idiots compassion. There has to be boundaries, of course, but how much are we holding on to, and how much can we let go? And that to me is like the nature of waves. I think that's why this time around in Bali, I'm having to be near the ocean all the time, because the sea is always changing, and it's like every wave is different. And to me, that's reality. And it's, when I think about energy work, the way I describe it, the way I sense it in the body, although there's many ways, like I talk about the waves in the body and how you can sense that, and how we're all just these bodies of water, and you can really feel that in someone's system, and how that's always changing. And that part of us that wants to like hold on to a part of ourselves, but it's like, who are we? What actually stays? What is actually staying? What is permanent? And, it's like the mandalas that the monks would make in sand, for the sheer reason of like, let's put all this care in. And of course it's going to dissolve. That's the nature of everything. Everything is a grand dissolve. Everything is just a huge wave and dissolve. And when I first had to learn how to practice biodynamic craniosacral therapy, it's a different quality of usage in your hands compared to like other energetic modalities. Very light. And when I teach this to my students, what it is, I call it like the hand initiation, where where it's like you're learning to be so soft with your hands as if you don't own them. Like you're just learning to listen and receive. It's not, they're empty hands, but you're still living in them. You're very engaged, but it's like this way of reception through the hands. It's like it's a surrender, it's a listening, and it's an allowance of surprise. My favorite thing about giving healing sessions, whether it's remote or in person, I kind of know I'm on track when I let myself be surprised. In other words, like I know I'm fucked, and I think that I'm getting a little too involved with my ego and my mind. If I'm like, oh yeah, like I know, because it usually like there will be a big shift where it requires me to be really present and listening and really drop in and just stay there, and to allow that feeling or the presence of the void to be there, which that notion of the void, of space, can be quite terrifying for us. It's been terrifying for me. Can I be comfortable in not knowing? Can I be comfortable? Can I stay there? Can I not distract myself? Can I not try to put something in there? And can I just stay and then see what happens? To me, that's the space where creative birthing happens. It's the space where reality gets birthed. Miles Davis says, don't play what's there, play what's not there. A truly mature person, practitioner, maturity, really expresses itself in its ability to mindfully stay with silence. And it's in that place where we can really begin to receive the answers. Or we could just say where we rest in a deeper knowing. So I know I've shared a tangent in several directions. And I wish you a wonderful, wonderful week. And to have a sense of humor around the nature of impermanence. And our true power is our ability and how we can ride these waves. See you soon.